In the headlines, governorship election petition tribunals deliver judgment in Kano and Bauchi states. 5,800 suspected cases of diphtheria recorded across 39 local government areas in Kano state. Tinubu calls for sanctions on illegal minerals and arms smugglers in Africa in first speech to the United Nations General Assembly. On the foreign scene, Rwanda's Paul Kagame running for a fourth term in office. Well, hello there. Good afternoon and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Right, we start with the latest in Kano as the state governorship election petition tribunal is delivering judgment in a petition brought before the tribunal by the All Progressives Congress challenging the victory of Governor Abba Yusuf Kabir of the NNPP. Now, supporters of both parties thronged the High Court complex at Miller Road to witness proceedings. The Kano State Commissioner of Police, Usaini Muhammad Gumel, has said only 50 persons were given access to the court deciding over the petition filed before the governorship election petition tribunal. However, some journalists were barred from entering the court premises without accreditation. The Commissioner of Police says the tribunal has limited the number of persons to serve as observers during the proceedings. Now let's bring you up to speed with developments in Bauchi State, where the three-man tribunal panel led by Justice P.T. Kwahar is expected to deliver judgment on the petitions filed by candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Sadiq Baba Abubakar, challenging the re-election of Governor Bala Muhammad of the PDP in the March governorship election in the state. Now, some journalists who have been barred from entering the court premises are accusing security operatives for refusing them access to the governorship election petitions court. Now, the journalists allege that the tribunal secretary, Hafsat Kings, gave the order to bar journalists' entry into the court premises. Adamu Imam gives us an update from Bauchi. Okay, Adamu Imam is actually joining us live now to give us an update on the development. Adamu Imam, good afternoon and thank you very much for the time. What can you tell us about how the proceeding is going in regards to the development around the verdict of the tribunal?
Well, as you all know that today is the D-Day of the election tribunal judgment here in Bauchi State. And what is going on at the moment, the judge has arrived and they have started a lot of readings inside. But though the journalists at the beginning, they are barred into the premises of the tribunal court. As you all know, we have a report of cases of disallowing journalists to go into the premises. But be as it may, a lot of issues raised at the gate. Noting that the secretary of the tribunal gave an indication, gave instruction to the security that the selected journalists can enter. Only 3 or 4 media outlets that can be access to the premises. So later we have pleaded with the security to allow more journalists in order to have access to cover this election verdict at the end of the time. And they were denied. They said that this is the instruction from the above given to them to bar journalists from entering into the premises at the moment.
Right. And what can you tell us about why those select media outlets were chosen? Were they given accreditation? Did they apply for accreditation? Or were they just specifically chosen by the tribunal to cover this judgment?
Of course, according to what the leader of the security at the gate told journalists, that they have only given 4 names of media outlets, which is NTA, AIT channels, as well as the NAN, which is allowed to cover the tribunal. We asked them, why is it so? They deny us any information. They say that is the order given to them from the above. Right. So we should abide by what they are telling us whether or to cause a lot of trouble there at the gate. And then later they barricaded everywhere and they pushed journalists down to the main road, which is closer to the press center, about almost about 250 meters away. So you see, it's very far from the main entrance, that is the premises, to cover anything there. We don't know what is going on at the moment, but we learned that those that have access to that, they are giving us some of the information there at the moment.
And what are they telling you? Is the proceeding underway?
Yeah, the proceeding is underway because some of the social media, they have grant access to, they used to send some of the information. We depend on them because we don't have any member of the journalists there that is covering this election tribunal verdict at the moment. Only these 4 media that are inside, and we can't get access to them because even if we put the call, we learn that their phone is switched off or it's not reachable.
Adamu, tell me about the mood in Bauchi. This is obviously Judgment Day as far as the election tribunal is concerned. What is the mood of Bauchi State like today?
Well, since around 7:30 to 8 here in the morning, the major highway has been blocked by heavy armed security men, ranging from Ahmadu Bello Way, which is leading to the High Court of Justice, where the venue of the election tribunal, as well as the major road within the town, have been barricaded, allowing discomforting the citizen going their normal business. And the people, there was a tense and apprehension about this judgment that is about to take in at the end of the time. Calling on the government to do what is right at the right time, to allow people to move because they know the verdict is there, and then they should allow people to move around to do their normal businesses since they don't have any business with the but at the end of the time they are praying. Some of the two camps, that is the APC and the PDP, are optimistic of winning this case. That is what they are chanting at the crossbar close to the main road there.
Okay. Adamu, keep us up to date with all the developments. As you did say, the tribunal verdict is still being delivered. So I suppose as soon as we have update, we'll circle back to you in Bauchi State to get more. Thank you very much for the update at this hour. Adamu Imam, reporter in Bauchi, giving us update on developments in the state regarding the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. Talking about tribunals, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has filed 51 grounds of appeal before the Supreme Court, seeking the nullification of the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Court and the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In his notice of appeal, Obi says the Presidential Election Petitions Court erred in law and thereby reached a wrong conclusion when it dismissed the petition he lodged to challenge the outcome of the presidential election. He maintains that the 5-member panel of the tribunal, led by Justice Haruna Samani, carried out a miscarriage of justice against him when it held that he did not specify polling units where irregularities occurred during the election. He further faulted the Presidential Election Petitions Court for dismissing his case on the premise that he did not specify the figures of votes or scores that were allegedly suppressed or inflated in favor of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC. Obi also accuses the panel of erring in law when it relied on paragraph 4, subsection 1D, subsection 2, and 54 of the first schedule of the Electoral Act of 2022 to strike out paragraphs of his petitions. While accusing the lower court of breaching his right to fair hearing, Obi insisted that evidence of his witnesses were wrongly dismissed as incompetent. Now, the Director General of the Kano State Primary Healthcare Management Board, Dr. Muhammad Mahmood, has said that about 520 children are suspected to have died following diphtheria outbreak across the state this year. Mahmood said this while speaking to newsmen at a one-day media orientation on the diphtheria outbreak supported by UNICEF in Kano on Tuesday. The Director General of the agency added that the cases were reported from 39 local government areas out of the 44 local government areas in the state. adding that the cases worsened within the 8 metropolitan local government councils. Mahmoud, who described the diphtheria outbreak as a threat to child survival, health and the well-being of children, says UNICEF is collaborating with the state government and other partners to respond to the emergency to save the lives of children affected by the disease. He said UNICEF has delivered 1.2 million vaccines to the Kano state government this week and is continuing support to the government for response to the diphtheria outbreak. Chief of UNICEF Field Office in Kano, Rahama Muhammad Farah, says about 60.8% of total suspected cases of diphtheria diseases are from unimmunized children. Farah emphasized the importance of routine immunization as well as dangers relating to the issues of zero doses, saying majority of suspected victims of diphtheria are children who did not receive a single dose of vaccination against children's killer diseases, including diphtheria. Now, lack of psychosocial support for victims of insurgency and banditry after traumatic experiences is worsening the well-being and living conditions of victims in Niger State. Abubakar Akote reports that many internally displaced persons have died from post-traumatic stress disorder due to inadequate care.
Their means of livelihood is farming, but they could not access their farms to cultivate crops in the last 8 years, forcing many of them to resort to begging and menial jobs. Some women and girls engage in prostitution to survive, while their homes have been deserted because of attacks. The IDP camps provided by government are often not conducive for living due to poor facilities.
We have been roaming the town in search of succor. What can we do? We have just depended on God because we are tired of crying. The trauma has affected us seriously. Many of us have died of trauma. We have lost over 10 people due to traumatic disorder. We cannot count the number of children that have been orphaned. For the past 3 years, we don't get relief support from government. If government can station security operatives in our communities, our farming is enough to sustain us more than government's relief support. We have lost many of our men due to attacks and trauma.
When we fall sick or our children fall sick, until we work on other people's farm to get money to take them to hospital for treatment.
When our children fall sick, it is difficult to take them to hospital because we don't have money. We are just managing.
Experts say the victims require special mental health support, especially now that cost of living has gone high in the country.
We have always advocated and solicited to people of goodwill and the government to ensure that mental health support is provided to the victims of kidnap because they deserve it. These are people who are mentally, and emotionally affected, and they deserve to be given some form of support. So I would call for some form of mental health support to be organized by the state government so that these victims will be brought together and then professionals will attend to them, counselors and psychologists. They will be evaluated and then the level of their post-traumatic stress disorder will be ascertained and then we will know how to help them.
The victims say they are eager to see peace return to their communities to enable them go back to farming. Abubakar Akote, Trust TV News, Minna.
You're watching Trust News Update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead, we have a report that answers the question, is affirmative action for women in government a reality or just mirage? Details coming up ahead in just a moment.
That's great.
It's good to see you.
Welcome back to the news. Here's a reminder of our top stories at this hour. Governorship election petition tribunals deliver judgment in Kano and Bauchi states. 5,800 suspected cases of diphtheria recorded across 39 local government areas in Kano. All right, let's get the very latest from Kano now and join our Bureau Chief for Daily Trust, Clement Oloyede, for the latest.
The update from Kano Governorship Election Petition Tribunal as of this moment, as of 12 o'clock, is that the tribunal is still delivering ruling on some of the preliminary objections filed by the respondents. The tribunal has already decided the preliminary objection filed by INEC. In one of, especially, there were 3 preliminary objections filed by INEC. In one of them, it was challenging the candidacy, the qualification of the governor of Kano State. It has been decided that based on the ruling of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, this is an internal matter. But the tribunal dismissed 2 of the preliminary objection. One of which was that one is the one challenging the language used in couching the petition. The tribunal agreed with APC that the language was substantially complied with the Section Electoral Act, and the tribunal also dismissed the preliminary objection challenging the non-inclusion of the governorship candidate of APC, Yusuf Nasir Gawuna, in the petition. The tribunal held that based on the Electoral Act, a party or the candidate can challenge the petition, that this is not that the fact that one is not included does not preclude it from filing the petition. So far, the tribunal is still determining the other preliminary objections, the one filed by Governor Yusuf and the one filed by NNPP. Afterwards, the tribunal will go into the main judgment. But aside that, the development is that journalists were not allowed to go into the court with their phones. We are all asked to leave our phones outside. We take the proceeding manually. Lawyers are also asked not to use their phone. So the figure of those that are allowed in the court is about 50. We have about 10 to 15 journalists in the court. The parties have about 10 representatives, including their lawyers. And the judgment, let's not forget, the judgment is being delivered virtually. We're connected to the judges who we believe were probably in Abuja, delivering the judgment via Zoom. We're not sure where they are delivering from, but we are connected to them via Zoom, and that is the situation at the moment. Outside the tribunal, there are party supporters we gathered that they are gathered at different places, expecting and agitated and waiting for the decision of the tribunal. But as the case may be, the judgment seems to be, the judgment looks to be, may most likely be a thing that will be decided later on in the day, because as of while the ruling started since 9:40, as of 12 o'clock, the matter that is still being decided are the preliminary objection and not the main petition.
Right, our Bureau Chief for Daily Trust and correspondent Clement Oloyede with the latest there. It seems that it's still early to tell how long this tribunal will take in Kano. As he did say, the tribunal is still delivering its verdict on some of the preliminary objections before getting into delivering the judgment proper. We'll keep you up to date with developments as they happen. Now, the clamor for women representation in government is still being echoed across Nigeria as the 35% affirmative action continues to linger in the face of non-compliance at both federal and state level. In this report, Trust TV's Jimmy Azande speaks to a cross-section of women in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, on concerns around marginalization in Hyacinth Alia's administration in the state.
The women said there cannot be development in a society that ignores women inclusion because of the development instincts to the female gender.
If women are not included, there is going to be less or no development at all. These women are the ones that know what is happening when it comes to our economy, when it comes to the growth of the younger ones, their children, those that they go out there to meet. The voice of the women needs to be heard. Women are the ones that are down. They know the cries of the citizens. They know the cries of what is going on with every individual. Just by looking at the person, they will know that this is what this person is going through. That is a gift from God. So if they are excluded, I don't think that would be, in fact, it's not even a good thing to do.
While reflecting on the role they played during the elections to support the emergence of the current administration, the women expressed reservations on the possibility of changing the narrative in line with their expectations.
While the elections were going on, I watched out keenly to see who would emerge as a woman in the various positions that were contested. To my greatest dismay, I couldn't get anything. Now, my concern or anticipation is this. Benue State has celebrated the coming of Reverend Dr. Father Hyacinth Alia so much, and we the women are not out of it.
Some of the women, however, hope that Governor Alia will make amends going forward to guarantee women inclusion in governance in order to appreciate their contribution to his success, they claimed during the 2023 elections.
If we go about the ratio of percentage of women to men in Benue State that voted him into office, I think he's supposed to consider us and give us some slots to work with him. Because they say where there is no women, I think the success is limited. But once you have women around, then I think progress will be. And what we want him to do is we want progress work in Benue State. We want him to achieve, and that's what we achieve. We want him to have us in mind and include women in areas that he knows that is key to us to work with him. When I mean work with him, work with him for success, so that Benue State will be a change place.
Women participation in politics and governance are said to be pivotal in development of the society. Their continuous marginalization, according to the respondents, is inimical to growth and development. Jimmy Azande, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
Now, the Nigeria Communications Commission, in keeping with its responsibility under the enabling law, the Nigeria Communications Act of 2003 to manage Nigeria's numbering resources, has announced new numbering format for fixed lines. The Commission announced that Nigeria's fixed lines numbering format has changed from 8 digits to 10 digits by just adding 02 prefix before existing fixed number. Now, it's in line with the development that the Commission intimates the public on the changes and also clarifies that existing numbers will continue to operate concurrently till the cutover date of December 31st, 2023. Now, it says that from January next year, the new numbering format beginning with 02 as a prefix will be operational. The regulator explains that the old and new number formats are allowed to run concurrently till the cutoff date, which is the end of this year. The Commission says that from January 1st, the new fixed lines format will assume full recognition across all networks. Outside Nigeria, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has told participants at the United Nations General Assembly in New York that sanctions should be handed to companies and persons involved in illegal arms and mineral smuggling in and out of Africa. In a statement by Ajurin Gilale, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, President Tinubu made the advocacy when he addressed world leaders at the 78th United Nations General Assembly taking place in New York. President Tinubu accused foreign entities of contributing to poverty and chaos across parts of Africa. He noted that these foreign entities cart away Africa's resources that would have been used to develop the continent. On economic investment in Nigeria and Africa, President Tinubu stressed that the country and the continent are open for business.
Foreign entities abated by local criminals who aspire to be petty warlords have drafted thousands of people into servitude to illegally mine gold and other resources. billions of dollars meant to improve the nation's economy now fuel violent enterprises. If left unchecked, they will threaten peace and place national security at a grave danger. Given the extent of this injustice and the high scales involved, many Africans are asking whether the phenomenon is by accident or by design. Members' nations must reply by working with us to deter their farms and nationals from the 21st century pillage of continent riches.
To Rwanda now, where President Paul Kagame has announced for the first time that he plans to run for a third term in next year's elections. Kagame, who has ruled over the country with an iron fist for decades, told Jeune Afrique, a French-language news magazine, in an interview published online on Tuesday, that he is indeed a candidate in the forthcoming presidential race. He said he is pleased with the confidence that Rwandans have placed in him and will always serve them as long as he can. The 65-year-old was quoted as saying in March that the Rwandan government has decided to synchronize the dates of its legislative and presidential elections due to take place in August next year. Until then, Kagame had not openly expressed his intentions, but he has made controversial constitutional amendments that have enabled him to serve a third term and could allow him to govern until 2034. A former rebel leader, Kagame has been considered the country's de facto leader since the end of the 1994 genocide. Well, that's it. You're up to date with the latest news stories at this hour. We'll be back with more a little later. For now, follow us across our social media platforms for more content and visit trusttv.com for more news. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you for watching.